Hi, everyone. Harry here with a tourist tip to visit the Smithsonian Institution in D.C., which is free, along with other great art galleries. But to do it now because Trump has announced that they are going to review and sanitize and revise the collection there to make it congruent with the president's executive order calling for, quote, restoring truth and sanity to American history. This is just completely harrowing to hear. Maybe you don't go to the Smithsonian, but the very notion that this very carefully curated by historians and professionals collection that people come around the world, I would expect there's as many people from, not from the country as from here, is now going to be completely bowdlerized to fit into Trump's vision of restoring truth and sanity. Well, we know a little bit of what that means, right? First, we know about his utter ignorance. There's not a chance in the world that he would pass a 10th grade American history test. And we also know what he's talking about, and it's flat out ideology that is unrelated to truth or really sanity as well, except for the very tendentious idea of sanity of that he and MAGA hold dear. So basically, I think the spearhead here is to try to attack anything that the administration perceives as DEI-ish. Anything involving racial minorities, anything that makes the country seem as if it did not act honorably, say with respect to Native Americans, and of course we didn't act honorably. We basically brought disease to them and completely kicked them from their lands, just as a matter of history, and not just history, as a sort of dedication to the critical American idea of building a more perfect union and seeing our history in terms of a trajectory toward greater and greater embrace of American values. It is critical that I think that is too weak. It is essential that we understand the actual facts of history. We've seen that, I shy away, as you know, from Nazi analogies, but let's consider what Germany did in the wake of the Second World War. They have come to grips with their history, and that has been absolutely essential for them to get past it and build a non-anti-Semitic society, which of course they're still struggling with. But this, as a sort of symbolic gesture, taking our official collection of who we are as a people and how we've gotten there, and putting it through Trump's crazy mill that has no regard for what's true, just for starters, and then is determined to slant everything to tell a false and overly rosy story of America. It's disgusting, right? I think immediately of one of the most well-known quotations in U.S. Supreme Court history, the West Virginia case where the Supreme Court made clear you can't force students to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. But as I believe Justice Jackson said, I just want to read it. It's so key, and it'll show up in the briefs here. If there's any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, that would include, first and foremost, the President of the United States, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, or force citizens to confess by word or act their faith herein. If there's any circumstances that permit an exception, they don't now occur to us. So it's not simply that he's flying in the teeth of hardcore doctrinal First Amendment law. It's even more that this is so deeply un-American. It's so deeply un-American to whitewash the truth. It's so deeply un-American to insist on sanitized versions of our own past that fail to teach us things. There's maybe room for some we've never had it in the past, but if there's a strongly held belief that some of the things that are in Smithsonian, he hasn't pointed to anything in particular, just basically he sent a delegation there, and they've come forward now and told them we're taking over, guys. We are going to, here's what you're going to have to do. It's an initiative that will start with this step and that step, and within a couple months, etc. The administration says the museums and exhibits should be accurate, patriotic, and enlightening. Just that. Accurate, of course, but they don't care about it and they won't do it. Patriotic? Well, what does patriotic mean? Is it not patriotic to really confront who we are as a people and have the ideal in mind of always going toward a more perfect union? I mean, are we really supposed to ignore, just to take one huge example, the whole tawdry history of how the Constitution treated the slaves, the deprivation of the vote to women? Is that not to be presented because it doesn't look patriotic or enlightening? Ensuring they remain places of learning, wonder, and national pride. So always there is the insertion of we're going to be jingoistic patriots for the United States. Another way of saying that is propaganda. Another way of saying that is a prescribed view from on high, exactly the thing that not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law, holds as anathema. So, let me finish where I started, which is whether or not you intend to be seeing the Smithsonian this year. It's a signpost of additional shame and degradation of our country, that are museums that house the account and the materials that say who we are as a people are going to now be subject to the revision. Remember, this is what the executive order says. They're changing things. It's unsatisfactory now, of Donald Trump and sort of know-nothing acolytes to conform to his ignorant, inaccurate, and ultimately really sort of unenlightening, undemocratic way of looking at the country's history. I mean, I think this order portends a whole series of clashes with the head of the Smithsonian as the administration tries to order excision or changes in certain exhibits that are right now there for very strong historical reasons of both fact and inspiration for where we've come as a people, as determined not by the President of the United States, who is really about the last person that should be deciding what's the official contents of the Smithsonian Institution. So in the overall scheme of things, people aren't going to be arrested or have their heads bashed in or deported from the country. But this change to who we are to ourselves and the world is really pernicious. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.